Hi everyone, my name is Celia Newhouse and I'm marketing manager at Centric Software and based in snowy Montreal, Quebec. So we're going to talk about a fun topic today, which is apparel and power sports, and specifically snowmobiles and motorcycles. And joining me today from Idaho is Ryan Harris, Vice President of Product at Klim. Hi Ryan, and thank you so much for being here today with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. And it's cold here and no snow, so I wish we at least had the snow you have.
Well, I'm sure it will come. I'm sure it will come soon. So for those of you who don't know, Klim makes technical riding gear. It's the global leader in designing, developing, and manufacturing some of the most advanced apparel for motorsports. And you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute when Ryan tells us about his company. And of course, Klim is based in Idaho and in Rigby, to be more precise. So, Ryan, thank you again for being here today. I want to jump right in and ask you a very simple question. How is Klim doing today?
We're doing good. Everyone's safe. Everyone's figured out how to keep working and stay safe at the same time. From a business standpoint, we're doing good. The business is growing. We're having a great year. As a lot of other companies, the spring was pretty uncertain. We weren't sure what the year would look like, and as we've kind of chugged on through the rest of 2020, we're looking very strong. We're on target to deliver one of our best years yet. So business is good, and our people are good and healthy. So
good, because I assume your office has been closed for a few months now, and everyone's been working remotely, like many of us.
Yep, yeah, we've closed in the spring, and everyone's working remote. We still have the opportunity to go into the office with local guidelines and follow the social distancing rules. Our product team still gets in there once or twice a week to pick up samples and do a few key things, but 90% of the time we're all working remote.
And you said business is going really well, which is amazing news, because you are a wholesaler, right? But you also have an e-com platform, and I'm assuming, when you say that business is going strong is because the e-com has been driving most of the sales with brick and mortar being closed this year. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, that's a great question. We are definitely seeing growth in our direct sales. I think I was talking to our e-commerce manager this morning, and we're going to end the year probably about 30% up from year over year. It's been a smaller portion of our business, so we're growing a lot most recently. So in the spring, the only opportunity that people really had to get our gear was to go kind of direct or go through online channels. So the spring was a little bit rough for our wholesale accounts, but all in all, they're going to end the year on average growing from last year. So whatever closures they saw in the spring, that volumes come back through the summer months. And so like we typically see is as we improve our direct sales, our wholesale channel usually comes with us. It's not a go one or the other. It usually grows the brand.
Well, congratulations. That is terrific news, and I think the industry needs these good news because it's been rough for many brands out there. But Centric has more than 400 customers representing more than 1,600 brands, and what we have found is many of our outdoor customers, and we have close to 100, have been doing quite well during the pandemic. And we have customers making tents, bicycles, surfs, snowboards, skateboards, and all those activities, you naturally social distance from others. I mean, snowmobiles, right. You don't wait for a pandemic to be 6 feet away from a snowmobile. You should actually be a lot further away. So, yep. So this is good. In looking at the outdoor industry, would you say 2020 has been rather positive for your peers?
Yeah, as we look at kind of a lot of the manufacturers and across our space, people still need to find a way to unwind. They want to get away from their house. They want to check out of work for a little bit and they can't travel like they've been able to in the past. And so, like you mentioned, they're finding other ways to do that. And so for us, power sports is one of those. So you're on a motorcycle, you're on a snowmobile, you've got a helmet on, you're with some buddies, but you guys are all distanced away, and it's a great way to enjoy. And so it's been good across kind of the whole industry from what we've seen.
Good. So how did you keep doing this year? How did you keep doing what you've been doing for many years, minus this face-to-face collaboration with suppliers and factories, minus this on-site travel, right, to factories? How did you do it this year?
So, I mean, the good thing is you work with your overseas vendors and suppliers. 90% of what you do is all remote anyways. We, as most brands, you are visiting overseas and working with your vendors. And so this year's been different where we haven't done that, but the bulk of what we've done is just kind of followed course of what we've done traditionally. What it has changed a little bit in our development process. I hope that it's going to make us stronger, because you've always got that ability to, what I like to say, jump on a plane and go fix it. So as you get towards the end of that development season and you've got a handful of items that you were kind of kicking the can down the road to make a decision on, and you have that ability to go visit the factory and really expedite that process. That's not available this year. So it's really forced our design and development team to be more thoughtful in some of their decisions and be more prompt in what they do. So timelines never stop. And so working with factories hasn't been drastically different. It's kind of changed the way our team works internally. I think that's been our biggest challenge, is just getting our internal team. We're used to being in the office and talking every day. And as you make product, as everyone knows, it's an experience. You have to touch it and feel it, and you communicate and build off of each other. And so our biggest challenge has just really been, how do we keep the internal team working, even though they're all spread out across our valley. I mean, for the most part, everyone's here. So that's been the challenge.
And so Klim's been around for about 20 years, right? So I'm assuming you went through a lot of different market disruptions. Can you present us Klim? Tell us, about Klim, about your company in your own words.
Yeah, so kind of give you the real quick Cliff Note version. It started over 20 years ago. And I think what's fun about the story is it really started in making gear for the ski industry. What the founder had found was a lot of the local ski resorts, their workers were going through lots of sets of gear because the ski gear wasn't really made to work in, it was made to ski in. And so he saw this opportunity to listen to what the ski houses needed for their workers, and so he started building more purposeful gear for their workers. And as you're moving snowmaking machines around, it's just hard on gear. So long story short there, we learned how to listen to our customer and understand what their needs were and then build product for them. So then as you go forward, a couple bad snow seasons, and the company had a pivot and a passion with snowmobiling. So they took their gear that they were making and they switched to snowmobiling, and kind of the rest is history. We really started building in the snow industry. And then as every company, they have downtime in the off season, they were looking for what to do, and motorcycles was just a personal passion for everyone in the company at that time. So naturally evolved into making gear for motorcycles, and we were acquired by Polaris about 8 years ago. And so we've continued to grow. They let us run independent, and now we focus on really making gear from head to toe. It's not just clothing for the power sports enthusiast, whether that be side-by-sides or motorcycles, snowmobiles. We kind of cover it all.
And I want to talk about your products. I want to talk about the importance of quality and innovation. Yeah. And the real superpower is infusing both high standards for quality and innovation into extremely complex products, because some of your products save lives. They have so many missions, right? They have the mission of being comfortable, of course, but they have the mission of saving lives, and saving lives in many different ways. An impact, abrasion, fire, avalanche. The list of requirements for one single jacket or one single pair of pants never stops. This is what you do. Show us your products and show us how you keep everyone safe and comfortable at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you hit on what's super important that we go to work every day is we've got to make sure our users are comfortable and they're safe. And we want to enhance their experience. The last thing we want our customers thinking about is that jacket comfortable. We want them to be focused on what they're doing. So, but they've got to be safe. I mean, going from snowmobile, you're in the backcountry and there's a chance that your machine might break down and you've got to spend the night in sub-zero temperatures at times. And so I get at least a couple times a winter, I get an email from someone that did just that and they broke down and they spent 2 nights in a ravine before someone found them, and their gear is what saved their life. And then you flip that to the motorcycle side to where it is, you get hot and you're driving these machines down the road and you're 1 split second away from having an accident. So we got to keep people safe, and there's a lot of requirements to do that. So like you said, just for some context, for those aren't familiar, this is kind of our flagship motorcycle garment. It's called the Badlands Pro Jacket. So I mean, it's $1,000 US dollar jacket. It is a Gore-Tex Pro laminate waterproof jacket. It's got YKK zippers. It's got Scotchlite 3M reflective. It's got ceramic infused super fabric, which are with the ghosted logo in there, just little dots. And these are key because these all give you function. It's not just for looks. The reflective is key so that people see when you're riding on the road. The super fabric is key, so if you do go down on the road, you can slide across and still be intact. As you go into the jacket, there's even more details on the inside. But armor and kidney belt for really sucking that thing in and making it comfortable. And then it's got armor in all the limbs. So making sure if I do go down, I've got this really pliable armor that the second it impacts, it solidifies and it takes that absorption from the road. So that's one of our more complex pieces. And then you go all the way to like helmets, a fully carbon motorcycle helmet, really focused on the adventure rider with integrated audio and speakers and communication devices. So like you said, our products are super complex. This Badlands jacket that I mentioned, I mean, it's a tech pack that's 30 pages long. The bill of material is over 200 light items, and there's 5 colorways. So you've got 1,000 different things you're managing at that style to make sure that it shows up and production's done correctly.
That's pretty impressive. So I want to come back to managing suppliers to make all these great products. In times of COVID-19, you said in a normal time you don't have that many trips to factories, on-site factories, but that you're already working remote. I think in a previous call you said that you go on site about twice a year, which is rather low. Many companies travel way more than that. So how do you communicate? How do you communicate a 30-page bomb tech pack with with suppliers? How do you collaborate and keep the quality and innovation standards high of this jacket or of this helmet you just shared?
So I think the key is it's really been successful for us as we've talked is we use Centric as our PLM system that really allows us to be consistent in how we communicate with the factories. So you'll take a product like the Badlands that is pages and pages and pages of information, but when they go and they work on a product that is a simpler polo shirt like this, it's got a lot less information, but it's consistent. The way they find the data is the same. The format of it's the same. Doesn't matter if it's from designer A or designer B. We try to make sure that how we communicate is really consistent, so our suppliers are used to that. And that's
Mhm.
where that software has really allowed us to accomplish that and have that consistency as our teams grow.
So let's talk about the software. It's PLM, product lifecycle management. So for those on today's session who don't know, PLM stands for product lifecycle management, and it's a foundation technology that links people associated with making products like merchandising, planning, design, technical teams, quality. So basically all the teams that are given the same one single version of the truth, one single version of
Yep.
product data. Yeah, so if you fast track to 2020, do you think PLM has helped you achieve a greater rate of accuracy on your tech packs, reduced errors? Are there, what
Yeah,
other benefits or ROI can you share with us today?
absolutely. So I think there's a couple things that are kind of fun to talk about here. Is um, the key is you got to start somewhere, and so we started relatively small. We didn't try to tackle everything at once. Every month we're talking about new things we want to do in the system, so there's no kind of stop to it. But at this stage, we're pretty much 100% of our design and development process is kind of ran through the system. And there's been a lot of things we've done from a sample turn time. We're always trying to work with our factories to make sure that their sample turns match up with our timelines. But more importantly, that I wanted to start seeing was how long is it taking for my team to like process the samples, make their comments, and get them back to the factory. And so we literally just built a couple of views that was managing data that was just pulled from the system. It didn't require a bunch of extra work, and we instantly had a metric that our team could look at to see how long was our samples taking to get turned. And after a few months of watching that and talking about that, we were able to reduce it by 25%. And it really wasn't because we did a whole lot of things different. It's just we now had the data in front of us and realized, hey, we got to speed this up. So that's one. Our lab dip process. When I first started, we were definitely not using Centric to manage our lab dips. We've evolved now, and we are. And so just by getting that process kind of automated and formulated all in one big area to go look at, we were able to cut out about 2 weeks of our lab dip process. So there's always the scragglers, there's always those hard ones you're trying to get done before production. But in general, we're able to speed that up just by getting that system more automated and cleaner and easier to follow.
And I think you also told me you had something else in terms of quality on your roadmap. And I know we have quite a few people here on this webinar whose responsibility is around quality. Can you tell us what's coming up next for you with PLM and quality?
So currently that quality team, it's kind of like working with their suppliers. They're not at headquarters. They come out a couple times a year to visit with the headquarters, the teams here. But we're communicating with them much like we do our suppliers. And the biggest key for them is they need to have access to the data. They want to know the specs. They want to know what challenges we saw in development, what things we should be looking for during the inspections. And so currently they're able to access all that through our data packages. It's all consistent, like I talked about earlier. And it's worked, but we definitely know that it has a lot more opportunity. And so there's a module that we're going to roll out this year with our QC team. And that's to where it goes beyond them just accessing the information. They're going to be able to access the information and do their quality checklist and identify problems and manage the whole thing right through the system. So that's an exciting thing that we're excited to get those QC auditors. They're able to go through the factory with their iPad, take pictures, log the comments right there, and then our QC team back here in the States can have instant access to that. Where right now, that QC team will go do their inspection, they'll go back and they'll drum up a whole email and try to send it off. This will let them be able to do that live as they're kind of going through the inspection process.
Great. So all in all, who are the teams who are hands into PLM every day? You said you have about 100% of your design teams working in PLM.
Yeah, so you have your product management, so all of our line planning, all of our financial reports to understand margin analysis and revenue growth. That's all done through the system. Our design team they're obviously designing in their own systems and software, but all of that collaboration that comes into Centric, our development team, they probably spend the vast majority of their day in that system. Our production and sourcing team are in the system, logistics, purchasing, marketing. So almost everyone, about the only people that are not in the system is sales, but accounting, everyone else is all touching certain data from the system.
And can you tell us a little bit about user adoption? Have you,
Yeah.
is it, do users, are they happy with the system when you onboard someone? How long does it take to train someone?
So that's a good question. It is relatively easy to learn. I've had a couple of people that through the hiring process, they'll ask me, hey, what software do you use to manage your PLM? And we tell them Centric. And I've had numerous people like excited because they've been exposed to it in the past. They really enjoy it, and so they're excited to use it again. We've with our growth we've talked about, we've onboarded about half a dozen people this year, which has been a challenge because it's been often remote. They're typically moving to Idaho, but it's not right away. And so we've been able to onboard all those people remote, and a typical user is picking it up in about 2 or 3 2-hour sessions with our training team, and then they have what they need to get going. So it's really easy to learn the system and get going in it.
And very quick. Good. So coming back to your mission to fulfill this mission of quality and innovation, do you think that PLM has helped you accomplish that?
It's definitely helped for sure. The innovation is really what we try to focus on for our products. We try to find solutions to things that maybe our competitors aren't, and we often look outside of our own space and find, well, what's the automobile industry doing to solve this? And so we're always looking to innovate. And one of the things has been challenged is you want to innovate outside of a development season, and everyone wants to do that, and we focus on it, but often you get sucked into trying to do innovative things during your development season. So one of the things that we talked about a few weeks ago is one of our current initiatives was to start running our innovation meetings like we were our weekly product meetings. So we've been running our weekly status meetings with the product team every week out of the system. All the information on the status of the product and where we're at. We've used the tool inside of Centric, and we've been doing that for about 2 years now, and they've really helped them become effective. Well, we decided to take that same process and just recreate that exact same tool to run our innovation meetings. And now we have I was in an innovation meeting just the other day, and we were talking about the products and the things we're working on. And it was kind of your classic, hey, well, do you have that list from last time? And someone was looking in their email to try to find out if it was PowerPoint or Excel. And we weren't as organized as we needed to be to really roadmap our innovations and how it ties to the product plan. So just a simple thing by taking that plan and putting it into the system and running it like a normal status meetings really helped us figure out what innovations are slated for what season. And you got to be agile. It's not always how you want it to be, but it's at least a plan.
Because innovation, you don't have a team that's in charge of innovation. Everybody's in charge of innovation, right? All your designers, everyone is part of your DNA. So what are some of the metrics that you're looking at in PLM that tells you how innovative you are?
Yeah, so I mean, every style, like you mentioned, we don't have just a dedicated innovation team. We believe it comes from everywhere. You might get it from a warehouse worker that has a new idea of how to make a product better. We might get it from our sourcing team that sees something at a factory that we've never seen before. But we do have a core team of the product leadership team that is responsible to kind of manage it all and drive it. And so we're constantly looking at that metrics of, okay, what are the pieces? What are the things we're working on? What's the status of them? Are we progressing? And then with the goal of every product having a clear path of what success looks like. And so as we launch new product, if we have product or innovations that go in there that make that thing better than it was the prior year, then we believe it's going to be a successful project.
So Klim has been growing quite rapidly, especially these past few years, but it's probably a different company today than it was back when you joined it 10 years ago. Would you have been able to be where you are today, you think, with spreadsheets and emails?
No, the business is just too complex. Like you mentioned earlier, we're making a lot of different type of product, anywhere from carbon fiber helmets to snowmobile boots to Gore-Tex outerwear pieces, airbags, motorcycle airbags. So just the vast of products we work on is so big and wide that it's just so complex to manage all that there's no way we could have done it just with Excel files and emails.
So digital transformation is a buzzword, but it's not. Everybody talks about it. Centric talks about it, and Centric, we consider ourselves a big player in the digital transformation process of apparel brands, of consumer goods brands. What is digital transformation to you?
Sure. I think it's transforming the way we work and what our workspace looks like. Obviously, 2020 sped that up for a lot of us, but the days of being able to access a binder to make decisions and go to the material library and open a closet and look at a bunch of things. Not to say we don't do that. There's always that essence of touching and feeling product that you'll never get away from, but you've got to be able to access information remotely, and you've got to be able to manage that in a more meaningful way. And I think that's a big part of it. But then also looking at our work environment, knowing that a lot of our teams, maybe they won't be in our office. There's that side of product that requires you to be together. But we've definitely seen that. How do you make it work when so-and-so has been hired and they still live in Colorado, and we're going to keep them there for the time being? And you've got to transform the way you work, and that's obviously digital. I mean, through conferencing calls like this and being able to access similar data and see what each other's working on. So for me, I think that's the key, is understanding how to work in a different way and be able to work remote.
What is Klim's definition of PLM? With all your experience and what PLM does for you, how would you define it to someone who doesn't know?
So two things that come to mind is it's managing what your roadmap looks like. So what your roadmap of product looks like and how you're going to meet the financial targets that you've set out to meet. And I think the other big one for me is you're bringing people together. How am I able to bring a bunch of diverse departments that all have different needs and different work they do every day? And how do I bring a system that allows my marketing team to get a value out of it at the same time my design team gets the value out of it? So for me, it's kind of bringing people together to get them to a shared environment.
Okay. So today is December 9th, 2020. I think we're all ready to turn the page of 2020.
Yeah.
Even if, for Klim, it's been a good year. On a personal basis, we're all pretty bored. That's why we have to go snowmobiling and ride motorbikes. What's your outlook for 2021? How do you see this next year?
Sure. For as far as the way we work and what our teams look, I'd be guessing just like anyone else, right? I think we're fully prepared to kind of keep our heads down and keep working the way we are well into the early part of next year and likely even longer. But I think we also know that we're going to have to do but it's going to look different. When we go back to the office, it's definitely not going to be what it was a year ago. So, but we're prepared for that. We work on it and we're excited. From the business standpoint, the indicators we have is that it's going to be another strong year. We've got our pre-seasons in for spring 21, and we're seeing that the consumers are still looking to to go out and experience outdoor activities. So everything we're seeing is it should be a good financial year, and our teams are motivated and happy. So I think strong kind of everlasting companies are what you build in challenging times. And so I'm
Mhm.
excited the work that my team's doing during these challenging years. This is what sets us up for success in the future.
All right, great. Well, Ryan, that's it for me. I want to thank you very much for your time today and for answering all my questions.